Good morning and welcome to Chat with Alexandra Arctic Chat. I'm so happy that so many of you have turned to my channel because I'd like to share with you even more insights on the Arctic news and affairs. But first, we start with some of the events that I attended recently, and the most important one deals with science diplomacy. I'm going to look at my notes a little bit so I don't miss any important information. But on 25th of March, there was a big event in Paris at UNESCO headquarters. And it was science diplomacy, ministerial dialogue on science diplomacy. And I was able to attend it remotely. And it was really spectacular because it gathered a lot of leaders worldwide, scientists, policymakers, any other relevant stakeholders that are interested in the concept of science diplomacy. So before we go into the details, what happened there, let's define what we mean by science diplomacy. So science diplomacy is a concept that describes how scientific exchanges and cross-border collaboration of scientists or scientific organization can perform diplomatic functions in the context of international relations. And it involves the use of scientific knowledge and evidence to inform and support foreign policy objectives, build upon actions between states, and address global challenges. And I think the most important in this definition is that with the help of science and cooperation, we can address global challenges. And we are facing many of them right now. So this event was really mind-blowing in the sense that the recognition of science diplomacy at the highest level. So the main findings from this event could be summarized as follows. First, we see that there is a renewed emphasis on science diplomacy. In the world that is torn by geopolitical tensions, there is not much leverage. There is not many mechanisms that can unite nations, but science is one of them. And the language of science is understood worldwide. So this could be used as a tool, as a mechanism to start dialogue, cooperation, to address global challenges and to build peace and sustainable development worldwide. It was important that this dialogue was held at UNESCO because UNESCO has historical heritage and historical approach, because it's been by one way or another involved in scientific cooperation in science diplomacy since 1945. It also built many research infrastructures that bring nations together, such as CERN, for instance, in Switzerland, or SESAME in Jordan. And these infrastructures really advanced science and they build trust amongst nations that participate in such big, ambitious projects. Then there was also an emphasis on joint management of natural resources. And UNESCO also supports that because there are policies and research that deals with management of fresh water, marine ecosystems, biodiversity, and geological heritage. This also applies very much to the Arctic, because it's one of the biggest global natural resource and heritage. And we spoke with you already before about the First World Day for Glaciers, that likewise requires global effort and global cooperation that is built on science diplomacy. And then the last pillar that was discussed quite intensely during that dialogue is the technologies of tomorrow. We are living in a world of advancement of AI and quantum computing. So all these new technologies require joint action and joint understanding and joint frameworks, how we are going to govern them and reap the benefits of them for humanity in the future, now and in the future. That's why the role of science diplomacy is heightened again. So all of this is feeding into their future collaboration for promoting open science. So each country should address the problem of science behind closed doors. We need to have science open and accessible so we can reap the benefits for humanity. And also that scientists have equal access to publications, to data, independent on where they are in the world. And all these important actions and action points should be taken into consideration when we are planning International Decade of Science for Sustainable Development that started already last year and will continue for the next 10 years. So there is a lot of actions to be made and addressed during that period of time. Well, I think the main conclusion out of this event is that when science diplomacy is understood at such high level at UNESCO and by the world leaders, we in the Arctic researchers have known the value of it already for decades and have used it for data sharing, for planning research cooperation, for planning field trips to the Arctic. Without the mechanisms of science diplomacy, that would never be able or realizable. That's why when we are now challenged with current geopolitical tensions and constraints, we need to discuss what we as scientists and science community can do. That's why I advise you to register to a very interesting event that will take place on the 10th of April at 4 o'clock Norwegian time. And the title of that event is Current Challenges in Arctic Research, How to Achieve Continued Cooperation. It will be streamed online, or if you're in Buda, you can also attend it in person. So let's continue this important dialogue. Share with me your thoughts about the role of science diplomacy and how we can enhance it and develop it even better in the Arctic. Which specific skills and tools do we need? So this was the weekly chat with Alexandra edition. We see soon again. Bye.